Brunch with Bud here on a Tuesday. Lots of things to debunk, including the firing of one Brian Daboll. Syracuse taking it in the gut again this weekend. Is there a win left in this Syracuse football team? And heck, might as well move over to Syracuse basketball. We can talk about that. Cayenne Anthony off to a pretty good start for Syracuse. All right, let's bring him in, my former partner, the one, the only, Bud Poliquin. How are you, Bud?
You know, I got to say something right at the top. That new lead of yours, what do you call it? The intro?
The show open. Yes, the show open.
Well, it's ridiculous, but pretty cool at the same time. I got to give you guys credit.
And do you have any favorite parts to the new open? Is there something that stands out in your mind?
No, the cartoony part where you guys are running
running through the streets, running with the bulls,
yeah,
the buffaloes.
Ridiculous, but kind of cool. So congratulations.
Bud, settled the debate. Which one's better, the Bud and the Manchild theme song or this brand new open?
Well, at the risk of offending Jim's family, I think that this new thing is better.
Wow.
Okay. Even without me in it.
All about the video world.
For now.
Well, we've been saying this to various guests, Bud, and I think this would apply to you as well.
All right.
So we have developed over the years, even when I was working with you, but especially in this new era with Paul, we have a lot of regulars. You know, we have our Giants Insider every week. It's typically Ed Valentine. Occasionally we might talk to others too, but we kind of have a main squeeze for all of our main topics, for Syracuse football, for Syracuse basketball, for our Jets, our Giants, our Bills. When we get into the NBA season, we'll have Sean Devaney, who's a great national writer. So we have our guys, and this is through years of, vetting people and interviewing people and then saying, hey, this guy's great. Let's bring him back. And then let's see if he wants to come back all the time. And so we have developed a nice little crew of regulars, and we like our regulars. We have Joe Bartle for fantasy football. He's a great guy. He's been working with us for like 7 years. So long story short, I have been telling the regulars that there will be a 2.0 version of our show open. And I like you, Bud, I like the caricatures and the animation so much. I said, the one thing I wish I had thought of it is we could have gotten pictures, headshots of our various regulars and kind of had them like running alongside us or zipping through the screen in different direction, and each with their own little theme. Like Joe Bartle, for instance, works for a company called RotoWire, and he's our fantasy football guy. So we could have him like in a fantasy jersey that says like fantasy on the front and like RotoWire on the back, and it's Joe, and then it's just his big head, running through the screen. Now, with you, I have grave concerns because you have the largest head of any human being I've ever been around, even though it doesn't look like it in this screen. If you got close enough to that camera, people would see how large your head is. We talked about hat sizes last week. Anyway, but Boy Green's blowing you up just to make it a little bit easier. But, so your caricature, I'm just warning you, it's going to be very large head, very small body. That's just the way it's going to look. Everything's in caricature world or animation world. There's always an exaggeration, right, of what you really are. So. But anyway, I see it in 2.0 that we're going to include some of the regulars. So I make that advanced commitment to you. I don't know whether that's 6 months or a year down the road that 2.0 makes the screen, but we'll get sick of this after a while, and we'll want to change it up a little bit. Although I think we will stick with the underbelly. And Nicky Lamangino, my old bandmate, wrote that little hook, that little song, whatever you want to call it, jingle.
That number, yeah.
And so we'll probably keep the jingle, but change up the video a little bit. So we'll probably do that at some point.
May I remind the audience on this fine Tuesday morning that he prefaced all that by saying long story short.
Yeah.
So, folks, that was the short version of whatever it is he was just talking about.
Danger, Will Robinson. All right. Well, this is your segment, so I'll let you do most of the talking as you often do. It's not like you can't talk. That's for sure. All right. So let's start with the Giants and Brian Daboll because it's urgent, it's imminent, Bud, and then we'll get to the local stuff next. So the Giants fired Brian Daboll. It's very clear that Joe Shane, the general manager, is staying because he's the one who's heading up the search. You don't have a guy head up a search if he's on his way out at the end of the season. So clearly John Mara has made a decision that the coaching was not good enough for the Giants, but the acquiring of personnel and the drafting and the scouting has been on point, at least at this particular point. So he's not going to make a change in the front office. So give me your immediate gut reaction to Brian Daboll being fired midstream. This is becoming more and more common in the football world. We don't wait till Black Monday. We just say, if we know the guy's gone anyway, let's just get him out right now. And that's what the Giants have done here.
Pro sports is all about winning, as you alluded to. And so if you don't win, you suffer the consequences. And he suffered the gravest of consequences. I wonder, though, just wondering, and you might be able to help me because you're more of a giantologist than I. If they took a pass on Russell Wilson, and if they didn't waste time in camp and in the early part of the season on Russell Wilson, one wonders, or at least I'm wondering, would this story be talked about today? Would he have been fired? And so I'm wondering, and only wondering, what role did he play in bringing Russell Wilson to town, or was Russell Wilson forced upon him? And maybe don't even agree with the thought that Wilson has nothing to do with it. Maybe his play, retarded the development of the offense and the other quarterback, Jackson Dart, all this. So I just wonder, since we're talking about him, maybe we go a little step below and say, maybe this can lead not so much to the coach's doorstep, but to the quarterback's doorstep.
Well, to answer your question as our resident giantologist, and thanks for throwing that on the screen there, Boy Green, for everybody to see. There's a little there, but I got to believe, number one, they were looking at the scraps that were available, okay? And there were just pretty much scraps out there. Other than if they had made a big move, if they had chased, say, a Sam Darnold or somebody like that who has proven to be a pretty darn good quarterback, despite, what he did in the playoffs last year. He looks pretty darn good for the Seahawks. They are legit Super Bowl, contenders, I think, with some real weapons. I don't know how Darnold would have performed. I don't know if Darnold would have wanted to come back to New York and play for the other New York team after his very bad experience with the Jets. So that might have been a no anyway. But I think the Giants, they were trying to get in the mix for these various quarterbacks that were available, knowing they were going to draft somebody and hoping that they could let that simmer on the back burner. So are you suggesting a different guy, or are you suggesting if they had gone with Dart right out of the box? I mean, let me just ask you that question.
One or the other. I mean,
one or the other.
Russell Wilson didn't work. And I'm just, again, I don't know this. I'm not even saying this is what happened. I'm just raising the question to you, Mr. Giant. If Russell Wilson never made it to New York and no other Russell Wilson did, would there be a coaching change right now with the Giants? That's all I'm asking.
I believe there would. I believe there would, because there wasn't anybody else out there. It seemed like perhaps Dart wasn't ready. I don't know that for sure. I'm not in the practices, but obviously they made a decision that they were going to try to stick with Wilson as long as they could. And that wasn't, as it turned out, all too terribly long, I should say. So no, I think they'd be in the same or similar predicament that they've been.
However, the trickle down too is whatever they paid Wilson was more than they should have paid him. And that money might have been able to go to somebody else who might have been able to lift the team more than Wilson did.
Well, the money wasn't that big to begin with, because Wilson's
$10 million, right? Isn't he
still getting paid by the Broncos? Yeah. What is it, Boy Green? Do you know the number
I'll pull it
off the top of your head? I mean, yeah, it's somewhere in that neighborhood, bud. Probably between 10 and 20. But between 10 and 20 is like cheapo freepo for a starting quarterback these days. So,
but you get what you pay for in this instance. I'm saying they might have been able to get an offensive lineman somewhere. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
That's a lot of, that's a lot of,
because we've seen now between the Giants with Russell Wilson and the Steelers, that Sunday night show by Aaron Rodgers was
how putrid that was, right?
Well, that was it. If I'm him, and he's a Hall of Famer, and he's in the argument for greatest quarterback of all time, so on and so forth. I get it. But this Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night embarrassed the Aaron Rodgers legacy built over 17, 18 years, or whatever it's been.
Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal game.
Here's Wilson's salary on the screen here, bud. So a 1 year.
It was a $22 million contract, but 10.5 of those were incentives.
Yeah, and he's probably lived up to just about none of those incentives, because it was based on wins and playing time and performance, and he didn't do too well in any of those factors. So probably a lot of that 10.5 went out the window. So they paid him a little over $10 million. They'll pay him a little over $10 million and move on from him, but it was a 1 year deal. They have Jameis Winston for 2 years at an even better rate. And the thought here is that he'll stick around as the backup, and maybe he's even going to be playing this weekend potentially with Jackson Dart dealing with the concussion. So, all right. So Shane's in, Daboll's out. So you didn't really answer my question, so I'll throw it back to you one more time. So are you okay with this? I know you're not the giantologist, but thoughts about mid-season firings like the Giants did today?
On principle, I think if you think that, again, I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, and I'm sorry for that. But it's not just the coach, whether it's a college coach or pro coach or whatever the sport it is. That coach didn't just knock on a door. He didn't come, the stork didn't drop him, on the front porch. Somebody went out and signed him. Somebody went out and recruited him. So when you're firing the coach, whether it's the guy at LSU or now the guy at the Giants or the guy you name the sport, you name the coach, why is the coach the only one who goes out the door? That's all it's a question I've been asking forever. So am I okay with it? Yes, because I'm smart enough to know that if you don't win, you got to go. But no, if you thought this guy was good for 17 games and you decide he's not after 9 games, why is he the only guy who suffers this fate? And again, everything is relative. All three of us and 99% of our listeners would love to be treated as rudely as these fired coaches. Who among us wouldn't trade places right now with Brian Kelly? Nobody. So
yeah, because they get paid for the next bunch of years for doing nothing if they want to do nothing. They probably won't do nothing, but
because they're freaks.
If they want to do nothing, they can just get paid for doing nothing.
I don't know if that comes close to answering the question, but that's the best I got.
Okay. Let's go. Go ahead, Green. Let's go local. Let's do the local stuff first, and then we'll get to some of the others.
Yeah, so let's get to Syracuse football. If moral cookies are given out at the end of the street, sort of playing close with Miami for part of that game, all right, there's some moral cookies in your trick-or-treat basket if you're going out from street to street. Of course, they don't give out cookies, that sort of thing, and Syracuse ended up getting curb stomped by the end of that one. Another big fat L for the stinking Syracuse football team, Bud Poliquin.
Now, buddy, you're going to give us one of your world famous. If they had scored on that drive, and if that fumble didn't happen in the third, it's a 3-point game, and they could win.
They've lost 7 games by an average score of 36-14. So there's no what ifs. Okay. This is a bad team with not enough good semi-pro players, and that's what it is, folks. This is. Why did I say semi-pro? This is pro football. That's a bad pro football team with a coach who couldn't get what he needed to get out of his professional athletes. 36-14 is the average loss. Now, they're 3-7, and guess what? They're closer to 2-8 than they are to 4-6. Lost. Another bad professional football. Now, the good thing that comes out of this is Boston College. Because the motto with the SU football team should be, thank God for Boston College. Because if there's no such thing as Boston College, Syracuse would not be in second to last place in 16th place in a 17-team league. But without BC, it's a 16-team league, and the Orange would be in last place. Now, to be the last place team in a 16-team league says everything you want to say. There is no redeeming factors, qualities here. There's nothing. People say, yeah, but. There's no yeah, but here. They're 3-7, closer to 2-8. And yeah, they had a rough schedule, but within the rough schedule, they didn't win, and they got slaughtered almost every week. Bad year, bad professional players relative to the other professional players out there, and a coach who maybe isn't quite Ben Schwartzweiler just yet.
Bud, what do you, I don't know if you have a calendar in front of you. I know you have a reimagined life. What are you doing around the final week of November? What are you doing around that time frame?
It's those two teams are going to play each other.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that savior might turn out to be their demise. Okay,
right.
So look out. Last game of the season, guess who they've got? BC.
Yeah, right.
JMA Wireless Dome, baby.
Can you imagine?
Be there or be square.
If you went back to the old days of 5 years ago,
yeah,
and you said that there would be a league in which the 16th place team would play the 17th place team, with the idea that the winner escapes the cellar, the basement.
Yeah.
Would anybody have bought into that, or would they said, you're crazy? We're never going to see a world in which we have a 17-team league. And somehow the teams in the last game of the season have to rally around the flag of let's get out of the basement. And that's what they're playing for, escaping the basement. Now try to sell that. If you're trying to sell tickets to this game, sell that to the community and see how many tickets you sell.
Yeah.
All right, Bud, here's a trivia. Roll the music, people in the back. What do you believe? We have this information available. The ticket price that
Your
Syracuse
audio,
Boston
because
College.
of the trivia, is breaking
All
up.
right, I'm not hearing Boy Greeno. So
I know.
what's,
Okay.
His audio is kind of garbled.
oh, here, now you're
Sometimes we
good.
play music and we have the vocals together, and it
Okay.
just doesn't.
I'll just cut it off.
Well,
No
we're good.
trivia music.
I can hear you now.
But we'll keep the trivia thing going.
Yeah.
Somehow we have this information. What do you believe is the cheapest ticket price for Syracuse, BC that you can get right now for that game?
Are you talking about on the street or on the ticket? The face value or on the street?
On the street. How
On the
much you
street,
can get it?
secondary
for?
market.
Yeah,
Cheapest
secondary
ticket for
market. What's the
Syracuse,
cheapest?
BC, right around Thanksgiving time.
Well,
I have that information again available right
I
now.
hate to be Debbie Downer, but I'd say somewhere between $3 and $5.
$3.
$3, buddy.
You can
$3.
buy a ticket right now to Syracuse, BC for 3 George Washingtons, baby.
Let's
So-
get in.
so-
Let's
so
go.
think about
Let's
that.
do it. Let's all go.
Think about that. You have all this preseason craziness, which you're going to get next year too, by the way. From the AD to the head coach to all the players, whomever, maybe some people in the media, and all that preseason hubbub, and how boy this program's turned around. They've gone from 10-3. Boy, who knows? The sky's the limit. And you're selling tickets at the end of that year for $3. That is a resounding, humiliating defeat for this season. Nobody. I don't know how anybody puts. What's the here's the trivia question. What's the happiest face you can put on this season? Is there a player? Is there a unit? Is there a moment other than the Clemson game, which by the way isn't much of a win anymore?
I don't know.
The Clemson game is it, but yeah. So everybody beat Clemson this year.
So are you going to this game, Bud, for $3?
I think it'd be me, you, Bud, and I'll give Frank Caliendo a call, see if he wants to come with us.
There you
It'd
go.
be a lot of fun.
My only fear is my pretzel's going to be worth more than the ticket.
Now I'm
It's
going to
gonna
tell you
cost
something.
a lot more than the ticket for that.
I'm going to tell you something. Am I happy or proud of the fact that I've been dissing the SU football program for the last 10 minutes? I am not. I am not. I never did that when I was at the Post-Standard and Herald Journal. Because back then, I bought what they were selling. Student athletes playing on Saturdays for good old State U. We're doing it for the love of the game. And we're doing it to get good exercise there, and we're going to be back in class on Monday. This is not that. They've given me and anybody else a license to say this is professional football, and it's bad professional football. Now, I'm not here naming names. I'm talking about the product. That's a professional football team, and it's not a good one. Now, you don't say that. At least I didn't. I minded my manners because they were supposedly student athletes. They were supposedly people had to, keep their eligibility up. Again, I asked this a few weeks ago. Has anybody used the E word in college sports anymore? Eligibility? Has anybody even talked?
Never
about
hear that word anymore. Never hear that word.
I read it the other day, and I don't. You know what quarterback I'm talking about? Maybe you will. He's out of my head right now. He's in his 7th year.
All those COVID years, it's coming to an end finally. But my goodness,
We just had a guy at Miami. He just completed his 9th year of college football.
Well, this is, between, again, I'm a broken record, and I apologize to the listeners. But the portal, NIL, 9-year college football players, conferences that have no interest in maintaining geographical norms or historical norms. They don't care about tradition. They don't care about the academic purpose of the institution. Why would I take it serious? Why would I care? And I'm sorry, I'm out when it comes to playing the game. I'm out. I can't suspend my disbelief. The universities are not about academics when it comes to their athletes. And the athletes are all about, how about that guy who was the quarterback the other day who was fighting back at some fan on the internet and counting out money or some such in front of the, hey guy, you think I'm a bad quarterback? Well, look at my, and he's counting out $100 bills, whoever that guy was. And I'm sorry, I don't know his name. this is what it's come to, that we have college athletes counting out $100 bills as a way of slapping back against fans who pay tickets, who pay money to buy tickets to bad pro football. How does anybody like this? How does anybody like this?
By the way,
go ahead, Poliquin.
Yeah. Just to say real quick, that was the Kentucky quarterback Zach Calvada, who was, hey, what you need to do is you're blank, stop hating, and he started fanning $100 bills. Let's count them out.
What is this? You know what? If you like it, you're welcome to it. That's fine. It's a product that you want to buy and get excited about. Go ahead. Me, I'm out. I am out.
Were you, Bud, before you retired? Because I think it came after this incident with me, but I've told this story before. The last in-person one-on-one interview that I did with Syracuse University was a scheduled interview in which the media person, from the Syracuse media department, we used to call them the SID. Now I think it's called media communications or something like that. Athletic communications, what they call it these days. That someone from that office
sat in, and I basically refused to interview the person because the person would not leave. And I did not want to do the interview with essentially a hall monitor sitting there, or frankly, a censor sitting there.
Yeah. And also the player, to me, was going to be affected. His answers were going to be affected by the fact that someone was sitting over his shoulder, watching his every move. And I was like, you can go. We're done. So we were done before we got started because that person refused to move. So I know, and that was the last in-person interview I did. I said, okay, I'm done with this. Like, forget it. So I know you retired a few years later, but were you experiencing that in your one-on-ones at Syracuse? Do you remember that, or do you recall that? And were you offended as I was? Because I was utterly offended. I was just, as a matter of fact, I was lividly mad, to be honest with you.
I'm going to be honest with you that I remember that because I said, somebody sitting in. By censor, I mean CENSOR, not.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Censor. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember that towards the back end of my time there. And I don't know whether I was flippant or glib.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what my response was. I wasn't happy with it, but I can't say. And it may, and then maybe they didn't. Maybe they just set them up and walked out because of, I had a different kind of position, or I had a different kind of, gravitas. I don't know. I don't remember, Jim. I don't remember. Okay. I remember that was going on, but I don't remember I don't remember my experience there, except I know that was going on.
Well, Lurch, I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll tell you this because I got to do it. Once COVID hit, I stopped on my Syracuse coverage and we moved into a different world. But I got to be in the Syracuse basketball locker room, and then football, they'd give you a player or two. And the person stood right by me as I'm having a one-on-one with somebody. And I asked the player a question. It could have been O'Shea Brissett. I can't even remember who it was. And the media person, whoever that person was, stepped in and said, he's not going to answer that. And I'm like, what? I'm like, we're having a conversation right now. He can speak for himself if he doesn't want to answer it. And yeah, he stepped in and twice said he's not going to answer that question. Ask another question. And then this interview's over and said, player, go home, leave. This is over.
Now, I don't know what's going on with SU basketball now, but as I said earlier, God bless Boston College. God bless Jim Boeheim. Because he none of that stuff. The locker room's open. Go and talk to whoever you want to talk to. Yeah. And I think they had all these people hovering, but I never heard him say, in my presence anyway, hey, he's not going to answer that question, or you can't answer that, or hey, one more question, everybody. No, you stayed in as long as you wanted to, more or less. I mean, you can't stay in there till everybody taking their shower and all that.
Right. Yeah.
But there was nobody hustled you out, because I'm thinking that Jim Boeheim said, hey, he could be difficult and he could be a bully, but he was a fair bully in that write what you want to write, take your lashes if I'm going to give them, and I'm not going to throw you out of the locker room, and I'm not going to say you can't answer questions. He could be a little surly, and I wish he wasn't, but the bigger issue was he said, hey, these people have a job to do, whether I like the job the way they do it or not. I'm not going to get in their way of doing their job.
Yeah. See, that's why I walked away from that interview back then. Is I knew what happened to you, Paul, was going to happen to me at some point, and then I was really going to lose it. Like it was going to be like fisticuffs. So rather than get into a brawl, in a professional environment, maybe it was just better to remove myself, which is what I did.
Is the SU basketball locker room open now under Autry or not?
Ooh, that I don't know. I have not covered them.
From what I've heard, yes, but I don't know firsthand, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know the answer to that.
So Jim Boeheim was
He was a gift. He was a gift in many ways.
No, we didn't realize.
All right, we got a lot of other.
He was our best friend in some ways.
All right, we got a lot of other things to get to. I do want to take a quick break. Our sponsor tonight is today, I should say, is Cam's Pizzeria, where it is always love at first slice. Let's learn a little bit more about Cam's, and then we'll come back more brunch with Bud. Stick around.
When you think of Camp's Pizzeria, think about two of your favorites, their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
Back, Manchild Show with Poliquin Digital. It's our Brunch with Bud segment every Tuesday. And don't forget, pop that subscribe button while you can, and also the thumbs up like. We'd love for you to be a subscriber if you're not already. We're giving away a $400 golf club right now, courtesy of our friends at Play It Again Sports, for being one of our first 500 subscribers. So there's only so many spots left before you're no longer in the raffle. And it's absolutely free. All you have to do is click subscribe, which costs you absolutely nothing. All right, Bud, a real quick on Syracuse basketball as the season is now underway. They've played a couple of those powder puff games, as we say, early in the season. But Cayenne Anthony, the kid, the son of the great Carmelo, the guy who brought the only national championship that's ever come to Syracuse basketball back in 2003, is on this basketball team. And, Bud, he's looked I don't want to say a lot like his dad, because his dad was a completely different look and a little bit bigger in terms of his bulk. But this kid can play hoops, and he has shown it in his first couple of games with Syracuse, albeit against lesser competition.
Not to be a wise guy, but is there a question in there?
Well, the question is, are you amazed by the prodigy, or the kid?
No.
The gene pool.
Yeah, there
he is, standing next to his dad, so you can see slider of frame, his mom to the left there.
Yeah. I'm not here, believe me, I don't want to be, nor am I here to be, a naysayer or anything. But what we've seen, is he a good player? He's going to be a fine player. I mean, I think we can all say that, but I think we all sort of knew that before he stepped on the court against these two cupcakes that they played. But that he played well against those two opponents surprises me not at all. But I am not going to take what he did and launch and say, oh, we've got Carmelo 2.0 here. He looks like a good player, and he certainly has the great basketball genes. And other than that, why can anybody say with any certainty that wow, let's sit back and see what he can do. This guy looks promising. Wow, cool. Other than that, I don't have much, because they beat somebody by 40 the other day. What, Delaware State or somebody?
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I say this respectfully and to make a point, although it's absurd, and I know that, but I don't know, how many people in Syracuse, on the playgrounds of Syracuse, could have gone out and played fairly well against Delaware State? And I'm guessing there's a few people on the playgrounds of Syracuse who could look good against Delaware State. I may be completely wrong, I may be nuts, but I say that to make a point, as silly as it may be.
Hey, I'm going to go backwards for a second, because I wanted to do a little quick game with you, and we'll have to make it quick because I do want to get to this sports gambling thing that we plan to talk about. So I'm going to give you 4 names. You give me, Borgreen had asked me this earlier, 4 names, potential next coach for the Giants. You give me thumbs up or thumbs down and a quick comment. All right. And I'm going right to the crazy, top of the list crazies. Okay. All right, here we go. First name, Lane Kiffin.
You're talking about the New York Football Giants.
Yes.
And you're talking about Lane Kiffin, the college
Yes.
coach. Thumbs down.
Okay. Former NFL coach, Lane Kiffin, who at 32 years old
that's
was essentially a child prodigy in the NFL, then went to college football, has become an incredible success in college football, was a cocky kid, is now a full-grown 50-year-old man who I think has learned some lessons in life and might, dare I say, I'm actually a thumbs up for Lane Kiffin. That's why I'm saying all this.
All
might
right.
be successful. And he, by the way, was the guy who developed Jackson Dart at the college level and has a relationship with him. So for all those reasons, I say thumbs up. You're saying thumbs down?
Well, I stand
Oh, you're waffling a little. Okay.
Semi-correct. I stand semi-corrected. Just a question. How long did he last in the first go-round in the NFL?
Season and a half.
Season and a half.
There we
I thought
go.
it was 3 years.
All right, so maybe I was too rash. I don't. The answer is, thumbs up, thumbs down. How about this? An even.
Mid.
I don't know. Yeah, as they say, 6-7. 6-7.
All right. Next one, William Belichick.
Oh, come on.
I told you this was going to be some crazy. So let's go. Let's make a comment.
Remember Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer from Saturday Night Live? All right.
Yes, I do.
He's an unfrozen caveman football coach.
Okay.
No, you're not going to bring a 98-year-old man back to coach. No.
He's 74, but okay. No for Bill Belichick. You don't think the youthful exuberance now with the young beau, the young girlfriend? I should say beau, right? It's not a beau. I don't know what it is. Beauette. Okay. No, he's been reinvigorated, but I mean, it's like he's gone to the fountain of youth. There it is. That's the fountain of youth standing right next to him. All right. It's the fountain of youth.
Hideous. That's hideous. Turn your eyes, Jerry. I'm hideous.
Avert your eyes. Avert your eyes. That's what I told Board Game
again.
Get the photo off the picture, right, please. Get it off. Get it out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about this one? Another old guy, but he tried it once, didn't get it done. But one of the most successful all-time college coaches in the history of college, Nick Saban. If he wanted to give it another spin.
Oh, that's a down only because he'd never do it.
Okay.
I just can't believe he'd do it.
Want to?
And he ran out. He ran out of the pros. He snuck out in the middle of the night.
I know he did.
No way.
All right. Last one. Would you roll the dice on a guy that's won a Super Bowl? John Gruden. Chucky.
I of the four, I think John Gruden makes most sense of the four. Yeah.
Okay. So of the four,
John Gruden.
you're going Gruden at the top of your list. Okay. Fascinating. All right. I wanted to do that.
Of those four, I don't know who would be on top of my list, but of those four,
I went for the zany, the wacky, the big name, stuff, whether you like it or not. And I included Kiffin in that just because I think he's an interesting name. Not as big a name as those other guys, but an interesting name and a recognizable name. He had the dad with the pedigree too, Monty Kiffin and all that jazz. Yeah. Okay, let's hit on this topic. You and I were talking about this a little bit off air, so let's bring it to the airwaves here. And that is live sports gambling, Bud. All right, so we all have these apps on our phones now in various states, so we can bet and use all these different apps. And one of the things they have is live sports betting. And you saw a story that really, really infuriated you. So tell people what you saw and why you're so upset. Go ahead.
Well, what's upsetting is that we've had people like Pete Rose in baseball. We have Alex Karras in football. You can look it up, Boy Green, Alex Karras. He got thrown out of the league. He and Paul Hornung got thrown out of the NFL for a year because they gambled on football games, back in the 60s. We had all these college scandals in basketball, through the years. And despite all these red flags, these contemporary sports leagues today, seeing a chance to bring in another almighty dollar into their coffers, have
By the way, suspended for a full season in 1963.
Okay. They both were. And by the way, just a little lighthearted thing. The year Karras came back, they used to have the coin flip, in the beginning, or they still do, I guess. They had the coin flip. And so Karras went out there representing the Detroit Lions on the coin flip the year he came back. And the ref says, okay, call heads or tails. And he says, I'm sorry, sir, I can't gamble anymore. So he didn't even gamble on heads or tails. So anyway, these leagues today have decided, despite all the red flags of yesteryear, they say people who don't read history are condemned to repeating history or some sort of saying like that. And anyway, these leagues, baseball, basketball, the NBA now, and now Major League Baseball, they've gone into partnership with gambling businesses, gambling corporations, and they're probably scratching their head and say, oh boy, we got some problems now. Well, how stupid can you be? With all the other money that you've got and all the other revenue streams that you could develop and cultivate, why would you go to the gambling route? And why wouldn't you think that something like this is going to happen? Now, what happened in this baseball thing, as I understand it, is the pitcher actually called up, either during the game or right before the game began and said something like, hey, in the third inning, the first pitch of the third inning is going to be a ball or something. Or in the third inning, the first pitch I'm going to throw will be a curveball, not a fastball or something. And I guess he placed a bet down to, I think it was the DR, I think it was the Dominican Republic. And people now bet that, okay, he's going to throw a ball. I'll bet you, $1,000. He throws a ball here to open the third inning. Sure enough, whoa, wow, he threw a ball. Give me my $1,000. And so now he's in big trouble for throwing a pitch or a single pitch in one or more games that would have nothing to do with the outcome of the game. When you throw a ball or strike to this guy, really, come on, how big a deal can that be? Well, it's so stupid a bet, and it's so stupid to get yourself involved in such a way that it boggles the mind that people would be so betting crazy that they bet on either a ball or a strike, and that some guy on the inside would be so stupid as to risk not only his salary and his career, but his freedom. These guys can go, there's two of them. They can get up to 20 years each in prison for throwing a ball rather than a strike, or throwing a curveball rather than a fastball. So it makes no sense to me at all. Part two of what doesn't make sense to me is, while I understand it's unethical to do this, while it's borderline immoral to do this, while it's wrong to do this, I still have a hard time understanding why it's illegal. And I apologize for the people who are going to jump out of their chairs and say Poliquin's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about, because I don't. I don't know why the law, with all the other issues in the world, why are we worried about this? Why is this a big deal? I understand why baseball is worried. Throw him out. Ban him. He's out of our league. He's out of pro baseball. Same with football and basketball. Throw Chauncey Billups away. Throw Terry Rozier away in the NBA. But that's their problem, that they have harness racing on their hands, or they have highlight on their hands rather than realistic, honest competition. Why is the long arm of the law going into all this? I don't know that. I'm not here to say they shouldn't. I don't know why they do. But the bigger thing is, why are these leagues involved with these gambling outfits? And how can these individuals be so dumb or so addicted to gambling or so hard up for even another $5,000, $10,000 that they'd risk everything for it? It's kind of a crazy human story as to what is going on. Why is my question.
But I will
on
go
all
back
levels, my question is why.
I will go back to the 1980s, and I will answer that question with this simple little thing. Take a listen.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit.
There you go. Gordon Gekko, 1980,
Wall
whatever.
Street, right. And I don't remember exactly Gordon Gekko's crimes,
Mm-hmm.
but they had to do, I believe, with taking money that wasn't yours, extracting money from investors or something.
Yeah,
So
well, he was
stealing money.
finding out information ahead of time and then putting his money in these stocks. Yes.
That's right. And I can see where there are victims there,
Mhm.
and so therefore that's illegal. Where's the victim here? Baseball's a victim.
Yeah.
Who cares about baseball? They talk about, well, it's a public trust. Baseball's a public trust. Well, then baseball better clean up its act. I don't think it's up for the law to clean up baseball's problems or basketball's problems. Now, that may be crazy, but is it a public trust? Yeah. Baseball, get on the case. NBA, get on the case. But to have sheriffs arresting people and throwing them in prison? Not that I feel sorry for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But like, hey, baseball, what did you do? What did you do to the public trust? Not so much what did these goofy pitchers do. What did you do to the public trust in your quest for more money? That's my take. So I'm waiting for all the legal eagles out there to call the show right now, or tomorrow or the next day, and say, tell Poliquin this is why it's illegal. And I'd be happy to get educated. I'm not here to fight it. I'm here to gain knowledge. Why is this anybody's problem but baseball's or basketball or footballs or hockey or pro golf or whatever. Anyway, I guess I'm repeating myself.
Oh, but it's always a charm to speak with you and to go through all these wonderful topics. As the late great Carol Burnett once said, right? She's not with us anymore, right?
She is with us.
Oh, she is. Oh, as the present day Carol Burnett once said back on her show back in the 70s. I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Just get started, and before you know it, is the time we have to say goodbye. You have a final thought? Go ahead.
Yeah, yes. For both.
You're going to end with a question.
Okay. I'm with a.
Let's just leave people hanging at the end, like a question.
Yeah.
And then we'll all just look at each other, and that'll be the end.
Each of you guys name the final score of SU Notre Dame football.
Oh, that's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming. Oh, that's okay.
Which I will be at that game.
Notre Dame. Yes,
that's
Paul
right.
will be there for the whole Notre Dame experience. He's going to go.
SU's next public appearance will be at Notre Dame. What's going to happen? Boy Green, give me a score. You're Mr. Football.
Yeah, you're going to be there, Boy Green.
It's probably going to be 56-2.
Wow, good win for Syracuse.
Okay. Right there on 56-2. Mr. Lurch.
A safety for Syracuse that gets it done.
Or on a extra point, McPick 2 could intercept and take it back to the house. A lot of creativity there.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, I think crazier things have happened. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be 56-2.
I don't think so.
Am I going to hang around like they did with Miami this week and then get murdered in the second half or something? So I'll say Notre Dame 35, Syracuse 13.
That ain't bad. That's close to their average. They're 36-14 is the average loss.
Okay.
So I'm going to go a little. I'm going to go in the middle there. I'm going to say Notre Dame 42, Syracuse 17.
The Syracuse defense has shown some promise at times this year. I actually think there are some good players on the defense. And I was just talking recently this week to a Syracuse insider, and that insider was imploring me to say, and look, we all looked at this season at the beginning. We looked at the schedule. We said, this is going to be a rough one for Fran Brown record-wise. Right? If he goes 500, let's put him up for coach of the year. So now they're having the year that we about expected, maybe a little worse because they lost their quarterback and the backup guy has not been good at all. And now they've even tried like 2 other guys and that's not going well. So they've got back to the backup and that's still not going well. So there's nowhere really to turn. They are by losing Angeli, they're screwed basically at the quarterback position at the moment. Okay. There's no escaping it. And when you don't have a quarterback, you don't have much in this league. Okay. In any league of football, but particularly college and the pros. So it's gone bad. It's gone sideways. And I don't think there's much they can do to turn it other than give maximum effort, hope for some breaks, maybe a couple of big plays, turn it around. Heck, the New York Football Jets this past weekend got 2 kick returns. I mean, that'll help you win a game. And it did. The Jets won their second game in a row. So crazy things can happen in the game. Well, I should have known that he was going to get that in for sure. But anyway, isn't Aaron Glenn like starting to get like Dino Babers-esque here, Bud? I'm just waiting for the Dino Babers full length speech to come out, and go viral for Aaron Glenn. He's got that Dino Babers thing, doesn't he?
They've won twice. They're going nuts. Go ahead.
2 in a row, baby. But by the way, Lurch, you said, the Syracuse defense has been pretty good. They haven't faced Jeremiah Love yet this season, who has over 1,000 total scrimmage yards and 16 touchdowns. Good luck.
But anyway, this insider said to me, this is a bad year, but I believe they're going to be very good next year. Very good. And this is somebody I kind of trust. So, I'm not going to go all out here on Fran Brown. We expected this to be a bad season. The injuries have really caused it to go sideways, but that doesn't mean next year they're a disaster again, right? Plus, you have the portal, which could change anything, okay? Right. It could change everything in a blink.
Right. Here's the thing, though. In the world that we're in, prognostications almost are ridiculous, especially now.
It's a different team.
Because you have no idea who's leaving you.
Good point.
You have no idea what your opposition is going to get. Mm-hmm. Somebody might throw a lot of money at a certain school and maybe somebody's taking money away from you. So this idea, and your insider, God bless him or her, okay? But I don't know how anybody can really believe anything now because of the structure of college athletics.
How about it?
Now, he says they're going to be better next year. How can he or she possibly know this? Because
Well,
we don't know who's leaving. We don't know who's coming, and we don't know what the opposition is losing or gaining.
with all due respect to Lurch's
There are no
insider,
more programs. There are no more programs. There are year-to-year teams. No programs. Go ahead.
well, no, but with all due respect to Lurch's insider, there, he said, "How could he know that Syracuse will be better?" Well, it's going to be hard to be worse, bud. It's going to be hard to be
Maybe that was
worse.
the whole point of it.
Once again, I stand corrected.
It's the whole point right there.
You're right. They're going to be better. Okay, I agree. They're going to have a better record next year than this year. That I'll agree on.
So, are you willing to guarantee that, bud?
I'm willing to buy each of you lunch if they have as bad or worse record than this year. How about that?
Yes.
I just warn you, Boy Green. There have been many lunches given away and bad bets by Bud. Many, almost none of them ever delivered. So it's a wonderful gesture that will never come to fruition. But at least we can say we won the bet.
By the way,
but hopefully we don't win the bet. Actually,
I was visiting family in Martha's Vineyard last week.
Okay.
And I walked into this store, this crazy little gas station out near the water, and there's nobody there anymore because it's the off season.
Right.
And this guy is sitting in there, and there's nobody at the gas pumps, and there's nobody in the little goofy broken down gas station.
Here comes Bud sauntering in.
I'm sauntering in, and what did I see on the shelf, and what did I buy? But Mr. Lurch, I bought a pack of.
Was it no, not Juji Fruits? Chuckles.
Yes.
Chuckles. He bought Chuckles.
I ran into a Chuckles guy, and then the outskirts of Martha's Vineyard.
They have Chuckles in Martha's Vineyard. I haven't seen a Chuckles in a 5 and dime corner store in 100 years. Well, not quite that. I'm not that old, but in a long time.
God knows how long these Chuckles have been sitting on that shelf.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. I don't think they've made Chuckles for 20 years, Bud. So that itself, but
I ate them anyway.
It is a lot of, there's a lot of synthetic stuff in there, a lot of preservatives.
Good.
A lot of preservatives in Chuckles. They're probably good for at least 30, 40 years.
Yeah, all right.
Did you eat them already? Were they good?
They were great. They're like cockroaches. Yeah, you can never get rid of a cockroach.
Yeah, you can't get rid of them.
You can't get rid of Chuckles.
Holy crow! Chuckles.
Well, that's what I love to hear, that my food of choice being compared to cockroaches. So excellent. Yeah.
And did you have a nice convo with that little storekeeper? Have a little chit chat? Did you chit chat?
Yeah, the shop.
Because I know how much you don't like to chit chat. So did you chit chat with him or not? Or just take your Chuckles and get on with it?
I left it at chit. I didn't do the chat.
See, that's no good. See that man? Think of that man for a minute. He's sitting out there. He's bored. It's the off season. You come in for a pack of Chuckles. I mean, there's a whole conversation there, and you resist the temptation to have that conversation. And it entertained, dare I say, that poor storekeeper who was looking for something, just a convo today to say, I did something at the store besides sell a pack of Chuckles. Forget it.
I had to go about the business. I had to go about the business of eating those Chuckles. I didn't have time. Didn't have time to chit chat.
Chuckles in my mouth.
There you go.
Yeah, you don't want to ever talk with Chuckles in your mouth. That's for sure. And for those of you that don't know what Chuckles are, which is almost everybody in our audience,
look it up.
Go look it up right now.
That's why God invented the internet. Go look it up.
Go look it up. And then go get them in Martha's Vineyard because they have them at some corner store there in the middle of nowhere. Okay. But as always, entertaining, engaging. We appreciate it.
And a
And we'll
delight.
talk to you again next week. Take care.
All right. See you next week.